Today, the webinar is regarding the initial non-medical home care license or as the state of Ohio. So this is, we are trying to cover pretty much about the entire process, the licensing journey on how we can get you through the entire process of getting the complete license from the state and then how to get started with the process. So that's the whole objective of this free webinar that we are conducting. Around 3.4% of people are getting the license care, understand the gap between the providers and the need for care. And this is the reason why you should have a licensed home care agency in state of Ohio. That as the first step, you have to review the latest regulation. So what I'm showing to you today might not be applicable if you're watching this after around a few months later. That could change. Always keep in mind, even though it says non-medical home health, it's not skilled, it's non-medical. 2 to 3 months time would be the ideal time to get your all the paperwork ready and get yourself approved. All right. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Anton, and I'm a ACHC and a CHAP accredited consultant. So today the webinar is regarding the initial non-medical home care license, or as in Ohio we call it as the initial, the non-medical home health services in the Ohio. So if you're from the state of Ohio, so this is, we are trying to cover pretty much about the entire process, the licensing journey on how we can get you through the entire process of getting the complete license from the state. And we will be also planning to take you through all the application process, the regulatory requirements, and all the paperwork, what you should know, and also how the application is going to be processed online, because there are two application processes, and we will discuss everything in detail today. One is a manual submission, and there's a faster way, which is the electronic application submission for Ohio. So yeah, so this is the plan today, and we can get started. So I've been working as a consultant for over 8 years in supporting especially home care, home health, group home, and mental health, behavioral health, and also children group home and the adults or the senior group homes as well. So we are, as a company, we are established since 2019, and we have been helping around more than 1,500 providers all across the country in getting their licensing and the paperwork ready. So we are conducting a series of webinars for multiple states and most popular and demanding programs, and to educate you guys on how to do the licensing and how to get started with the process. So that's the whole objective of this free webinars that we are conducting. So hope to get you all the knowledge that you should know if you're someone, a provider who has been thinking about getting a non-medical home health agency in Ohio. All right. So this is what the entire plan for today. As you can see, we'll give a little bit about the company, the objective of this webinar, and also how you can differentiate between the non-medical and home health or as the skill services. And also we have a little bit of analytics that we have done on which cities is most suitable for you to start this business and the counties that you should focus on as a new provider, because these are the questions that you would have in your mind. So okay, I would love to do a business, a non-medical or medical, but where should I do that, and how should I get things started? So those are the questions that you might have, and you might be asking inside yourself on how to get this started. So that's the whole objective today, and to get you through the entire process. So as you can see, we'll be taking through all the most important aspects of the licensing and also the application process, and how much the fees that you'll be having to pay for the state, and the timeline, like how soon you can get the license and start operation. This is what we are going to cover today, because we have supported a lot of providers, how in getting their licenses. So we have a very practical understanding of to put you on a very much average timelines to exactly know what you need to be doing, what paperwork, and how much time expectations that you should wait in order to get this started. So, and also we'll be guiding you through the common mistakes and the delays in the approval journey. So the things that you should avoid before the things get escalated. So that's also those tips and tricks we will be guiding you throughout the process today. And finally, we'll be going through the the real life example of a case study of a recent customer who we have licensed and got the license. And we are trying to show you how exactly we will be, if you want to use our services, how we will be guiding you through. But during this session, if you are watching this, or if you're in this live session today from start to finish, so I'm sure you should be able to do things on your own. So that's the whole objective of this session. But let's say if you have any questions, always you can feel free to stop me and ask questions, and let's try to make it as an engaging session as much as possible, because I want to give you all the understanding about how this should be done. Right. And very critical thing or very important information, it's all about the regulation and the Ohio codes that you should have everything kept in mind, because those codes, or as the administrative codes that is specific to state and to your program, is what I will be very much trying to specify that during this entire session, because that's very important to keep in mind, because we can't do anything out of the legal framework provided by the state. So every document, all of the application process, all of the paperwork that we are supposed to provide should be in compliance to the specific state regulations from the state of Ohio, right? So what we are trying to do here as licensing means it's not our own ways of doing things, but the ways of doing things that is very much specific to what the state wants us to do. So that's what we will be guided through the process today. All right, and also we will try to show how the end of the day, how the certificate looks like, and also our packages. If you have to use our services, then we can of course help you out. And the next steps, like once you get the license, like what's next? How do I get clients? And how I start the operation, and how many people should I hire to get things started, and how does the inspection survey work. So all these things we'll be discussing today during this session. So, and also there will be a Q&A, and you will be able to ask any questions that you have during or after the session. So it's up to you to stop me and ask questions if you want to clarify anything, but you can wait at the end of the session to ask any questions. All right. So yeah, so Care Policy LLC is we are with the company for more than 8 years of licensing for home care, home health, group home, like all kinds of provider types in the entire country, and all 50 states we are providing the licensing supports and making sure that all of the customers or new providers, let's say if someone is trying to get started with the licensing, who have been working as a registered nurse for their entire lifetime, or as a caregiver for more than a decade. And let's say if you have been working as a LPN, or this industry for a lot of years working for someone else, and then you have a lot of understanding about how this has to be done and how the things needs to be done. And now it's a time for you to think of getting a start in your own agency in your current state or in multi-state. So just I want to give this very the good news is that in this industry you're not limited to just one home care. You have the potential, you have the capacity to expand into multi service natures. You can start from non-medical and then expand into medical and then expand into group homes within the state or out of the state. So if you wish to go ahead out of the states and other states, still you can do that and expand as a business. And also some customers of ours we have seen they are now franchising, as a business model. They started with us a few years ago as a non-medical services, and they use our services to get into Medicaid, and then they got our services again to get into the skilled and medical services, and now they have a chain of group homes. So they're like the pioneers in the industry for senior care, and now they're using their built brand to franchise. So they're no longer operating everything on their own, but they are charging a royalty fee, franchise fee, and trying to sell the brand and trying to get the others to use their brand and get the businesses started. So that's the capacity, and there's a lot of things, other things that you can do. So it's all about getting things started. So that's the whole objective of this entire session, to get things started for you. All right. So today the objective of this webinar, mainly we are focusing about the laws, the regulations, and how you can provide the quality care in compliance to the state regulations. And also we'll be getting you through the entire very clear view about the full licensing process for non-medical home health services. So in Ohio, there's one thing I need to clarify here. Typically, when you say the word home health means skilled or medical services, but in Ohio, non-medical services also goes under the category of home health. So they have these two different varieties under home health skilled and home health non-skilled or non-medical. So what we are trying to do today is non-medical, which means that you can provide the services like personal care, companion sitting, meal preparation, running errands, so those kinds of non-medical assisted support services what you provide for seniors inside their own homes is what we call as non-medical services. And the license terminology in the state, how they refer these licenses, Ohio non-medical home health services. So please keep that in mind when you're trying to go about this application and everything. So we will also get you through the paperwork, fees, deadlines, and also make sure that you are fully compliant with the policy procedures and how to write these policy procedures and how to be in compliant with these policy procedures. Let's say if you're using some other services, some other consultants or whoever to get the policy procedures, but you should know whether you are getting the right policies and procedures. So to know that, you should have the basic understanding on how to cross check with the state regulation and the policies that you're receiving from someone else, because it has to be state specific. You can't use anything generic. Keep in mind, you can't use anything generic. It has to be state specific, and it has to be program specific, and it has to be the agency specific. So these three things you should keep in mind when you're trying to go with the paperwork. And again, the policy procedure is one of the key document, but there are a few other documentation that you should be aware about, and we will show everything to you today. And of course, a real life example on what you should know and how we are going to get with this entire session. So you have the option to questions, and I will be available for all your questions to support you with the answers. So, all right. So what's non-medical home health services? So what you can provide, so as I explained to you, non-medical home health services provide support to individuals who require help with everyday or daily activities, but do not need medical or nursing care. Non-medical service license, you can never provide medical or nursing, it's illegal. So always keep in mind, you will be allowed to provide the non-medical services, including personal care, companionship, meal preparation, light housekeeping, transportation, and enabling clients to maintain independence and comfort in their own homes. Why I'm telling in their own homes? Because this is more of a HCBS, home and community-based services. It's not the residential setup. You know, there's two different things in the senior care industry. The residential setup is more towards the group home. If someone wants to have a property of your own and accommodate or keep the resident inside your property, that's what you call a group home or supervised living or residential setup, or as assisted living facility, or there are different ways to name it based on the level of care and the level of services. And that's pretty much, I would try to use a common word as a group home, where you would have a property and keeping the resident inside your property. But this non-medical home health services mean you will be getting the license under your business name, and you will be using that license to send caregivers to their houses of the clients, their own homes, and providing the services inside their own homes and coming back to your office. So nobody is going to live there. Nobody is going to spend the night with your client's place. It's going to be someone else's house providing the care and coming back home. That's what the setup for this non-medical home care business, right? And you can provide skilled or nursing services. You can only provide the personal support services, including the basic hands-on and hands-off services. Okay. All right. So now I'll just jump into some numbers. So I'm sure you guys must be curious about why should I do this? What's in it for me, right? So we are businessmen, so you should be thinking as a businessman, even though I get the license, but is it worth going for the senior care? That's the number one question. And is it worth in going for the state of Ohio? And that's the second question you should think about. So unless you know a proper reason why you're going and what you're getting into, you should never do that. So that's the whole objective of these numbers, what you see on my screen. We have done a little bit of analytics just to get you some kind of a idea about around 3.4% of the seniors in Ohio, which is roughly around 84,500 people served by licensed home care services. But the population for 60 plus populations is over 2.5 million. So out of that, around 3.4% of people are getting the license care, understand the gap between the providers and the need for care. And this is the reason why you should have a licensed home care agency in state of Ohio, because there's a gap, there's a huge gap, and there's a lot of people trying to do this, but nobody's licensed. Unless you have a license, you can't operate this legally. And there's a lot of need for care. And the other reason for this high demand, the growing market, the diversity, everything, because it's naturally you're being blessed with the aging population keep increasing your demand. Child booming, increase in your demand, and the market keep growing, and the market would never die in senior care, especially unlike any other industry. So that's the main reason why we see a lot of providers. Let's say maybe some of you in the call today could be from the same industry. Maybe you guys have been working in the senior care. Maybe you guys have are doctors, RNs, or the caregivers or direct support. You guys should have some kind of experience, let's assume. But a lot of people that we talk every day, we provide consultations, we talk with a lot of providers daily, nearly 10 to 15 people we talk every day. And most of that, I could tell that around 50% of the people who we speak with are out of the industry. These guys are from real estate, or these guys are from IT or finance, because everybody wants to put their money on senior care because of the demand. And also they have the multi-payers, the private insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, everything is there for you. The government is supporting this business, right? So you have huge potential on what you are to do and what you can do. So first of all, the starting with your license, and this is the session for today, starting your business with the license. So we also have a little bit about the facts and figures about the cities. I think we do have some kind of a, let me see, article as well that we have recently published. So what you see here in green are a little bit saturated in the market, these areas. So if you are trying to freshly think of an area, but I understand that if you're based in these cities, still do it. Trust me, this saturation, it won't affect you because there's a gap between need for care. But if you have the opportunity to go to these green areas, which are highly likely the opportunity score is high, because there's less licensed facilities already or home care agencies compared to the rest of the areas. But if you want to get a proper understanding about the entire cities, we have the analytics team who does the research on the cities and everything. So we have published an article just a month ago. So you can go through this article. I think we can put this on the chat also. So you can understand based on your area and what's the model fit tips. We have highlighted whether it's crowded, what are the areas you can focus, and you can have a very clear understanding as to which city or the county that you should start your business. All right, so all right. So we will share these resources for you guys, or you can just access from Care Policy Resource Center. And we have a lot of resources for new providers like you, all these free materials, the peer networking, boot camp, and the guides. And we have a lot of blog articles and everything about Medicaid, Medicare, everything we are publishing as free articles, free resources for new providers like you. So, all right, going back to the presentation, I'll just scroll this down. So I would want to clarify this with you before I move forward, because some people or some providers are a little bit confused as to home health. Because in as I mentioned earlier today, in Ohio, home health agency is the category for both skilled and non-skilled. They use the term home health in both the cases. So always keep in mind, even though it says non-medical home health, it's not skilled, it's non-medical. Home health, they have a separate category for skilled home health. That's where you can provide the nursing care, wound care, medication management, or OT, PT, all kinds of the therapeutic services. Everything will be provided under home health. But non-medical is pretty much you don't involve in non-medical. And also in non-medical, you have these two types of services: hands-on, hands-off. Hands-on mean you will be you will be able to touch the patients or the residents and your clients. We use the term clients in home care the setup. You'll be able to touch them and help them with their daily support and personal care and everything. Hands off mean like the bed making, meal preparation, companionship. You don't get to touch them physically. No, there's no physical contact. Those are, but both comes under the non-medical services. And medical services are pretty much all these occupational therapy, physical speech therapy, wound care, and everything, injections, everything comes under home health. And one more thing, whenever we talk about medical related services, you must have a registered nurse. Without a registered nurse, you can't operate, or they are not going to get you the license approvals. But for a non-medical, only you should be there. Just one man show. If you are the owner of the business, a single member LLC you own, and you can represent as the administrator of the business and get this license for you. You don't need to rely on anybody. You can do this on your own if you're going to do a non-medical home health services in Ohio. But always keep in mind, I'm today talking about the state of Ohio. Every 50 state is completely different way to address different regulations. And what I'm talking about, Ohio, would never be applicable in any other state. So just keep that in mind. So we are very specific to the state of Ohio and this program. That's the whole objective today. All right, so okay. This is what I wanted to clarify. And now we will discuss the most three important things you need to consider in licensing process. So before I go ahead with this session, I would like to ask if you have any questions or anything that you'd love to get clarified with me. So do you have any questions that you want to clarify or ask anything from me?
I do. When you sign up for Medicaid, do you have to be in the waiver program as well, like a waiver program, DODD or ODA?
Yeah, so Medicaid always comes after your initial license. So if you're providing non-medical services, you can go with Medicaid. Yes, it's a separate approval process, and it's a separate Medicaid provider waiver approval process. So you have to go with that process separately. But let's say if you're providing skill services, that goes under the Medicare. Medicare is only valid for skilled or medical related services, and that's pretty much covered under the CMS. So that's a separate application like 855A, and you have to go about that route. For non-medical, yes, you have to go with the Medicaid, but it comes late after you're initially licensed for your home care. All
Yes, I
right.
know that, but I was asking. So because once you have your license through ODH, and then do you have to get a license through DODD or ODA, or can you go straight through ODM? Is the question.
Uh, it depends. So what I will do is today we have a session for the Medicaid at the end, and we will try to clarify that as well and to get you more informations about the Medicaid. But you have the option on getting started with the Medicaid on which waiver that you would want to go ahead with. So we will try to guide you through the process. So hopefully end of the session we have a Medicaid enrollment process today.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. So, all right, guys, the most important thing what we are discussing today, the Ohio Administrative Code and the specific regulatory code that you should understand. And this, if you can take a note about this code, and this is the applicable code for anyone who is trying to do a home care license in the state. And let me try to show you. So this is what we are talking about. And as I mentioned, everything goes under home health. And this is the chapter and the section code that's relevant for your program, regardless whether you want to go ahead with the non-medical or medical services. So everything that all the paperwork, all the regulatory information that you need to cover, and all of the regulatory information, the what do you call the application, the licensing, how to write policy procedures, all the guidelines, this is your base. So I was referring to you when you're talking about the policy procedures or whatever the document, always this is your cross check. This is the base information for you to cross check any information that you're doing. And these informations, when you go towards these insides of these rules and regulation, they have given you the basis of rules and regulation, what you should comply. And that's something you should keep in mind when you're trying to get started with the entire process. And you need to have, there are things like insurance and office setup and employee background checks, and of course the licensing. So one good thing about these non-medical services in Ohio, you can use your home office, which means that you don't need to rent a place at this stage. You can simply use your home office if you have a physical space in Ohio. And let's say if your home is located in Ohio, so you can use that address for the entire application process. So because as long as it's a physical place, you don't have a problem. But you can't use anything, a virtual location or a PO box. I would never recommend. They would flag your application. So don't go with any PO boxes or virtual addresses. Always you should have a physical space, whether it's a commercial space or whether it's a home office. You should have a physical space, right? And the other most important thing when you're trying to do a business, any kind of a business, you are supposed to do your business registrations with the Secretary of State. So this we call it as the Articles of Organization, which gets you the Limited Liability Company LLC. Or else some people or some providers can choose to go with the incorporation. That falls under the articles of incorporation, S Corp, C Corp, or whichever the business setup or the legal structure you wish to go. There is no impact to the application. It's up to you to decide on what business structure that you want to proceed your license under, right? And along with your LLC or incorporations, you have to get your EI, and this means the employee identification number. And this is pretty much for the tax purposes from IRS. And yeah, the registrations with the Secretary of State, that's where you get the articles of organization. So Now we'll try to get you through the step-by-step licensing process. So before that, okay, yep, all right. So when you talk about the licensing process, there are steps that you need to follow. The reason why I'm telling you is that this licensing process comes as a package, or as we call as the packet, licensing packet, because we don't submit one document at a time. We submit everything combined, and all these documentation should be organized and ready before you can submit. And we will also try to show you what documentations are needed and how to prepare a checklist of what's needed and what you will be needing. So everything we are planning to get you. That as the first step, you have to review the latest regulation. So what I'm showing to you today might not be applicable if you're watching this after around few months later. That could change. So always you have to be up to date about this code and try to refer to the latest information in the state, the websites under the home health category. So always be up to date. Don't do anything outdated and they would reject you right away. Always keep in mind to be up to date on the latest regulatory requirements. So we do have the complete record information and the submission. So in Ohio, you have the two options actually. One is a manual form submission. They have this typical, fill in the form and submission, the process. And also they have the electronic system submission. So personally, what I would recommend to you is the electronic system because that's way faster. It's easy for you to fill in, and the processing time is also faster. We have experience in both these scenarios, and state would come back to you much faster if you are to go with the electronic system. So this is how the application, manual application looks like. It's also pretty much the same thing they're asking you, but now they have put everything to the electronic version. So it's up to you. If you're comfortable doing non-manual, you can still do this form option. This is still valid. If not, you can try to do the electronic option. And only thing that you have to choose in this electronic option, always keep in mind, then you go with the certificate of licensure. Always keep in mind to what do you call to go with the non-medicals. I was telling you something about non-medical home health services and skilled home health services. But home health is the same term, but always keep in mind if you have to do skilled services, then this is your option. But if you have to do non-medical services, this is your option. So you have to go through this application and make sure that everything you have to fill in the details, but you can't miss any simple information. You have to follow all these instructions, and every support document should be collected before you can submit the application. So always keep in mind everything what the state wants you to submit, and the application fee, everything you have to very much carefully organize and handle. So when you try to submit for the first time, make sure you get yourself approved. Don't let the state come back with deficiencies, denials, rejections, because that would put your entire process behind. You have to be very careful as to how you're going to do this and what you're going to do. So that's what you have to be very careful, and what are the documentation that you're supposed to do, and what level of information you have to feed in. So always remember, if you are a new provider, what you have to do is it's an initial application, because there are, let's say, whenever you do the renewal, or if you're going to sell your business and if you're going to change the ownership, so there are separate pathways that you should follow. But here in this case, what we are trying to guide you with the initial application process and get you through the process. So you don't have a state ID yet, which means you can always go with the not applicable, and likewise you have to fill in all this information, but always be careful as to what you fill out and what you fill in. And so there are a few other areas. I'm not going to go into detail because this is a very lengthy process, and you have to carefully fill this out, but I'm trying to give you some heads up. This is the starting point for you, and this is what you should get the thing started and fill in the details and ready the documents, ready your policy manuals, everything before you come to this stage. So that's something you have to carefully handle from your end. All right. So yeah, my personal recommendation, always go with the electronic system. Manual submission is little delayed because that's a personal experience that I can tell you. This electronic system, when you submit the application, it's directly getting assigned to analyst, the review analyst from the states end, and these guys would do a faster job compared to the manual paperwork. Yep, so this is what I would show you. Always select the non-medical if it's non-medical, and if someone of you wants to go with the skill, then you have to select this skilled home health option. Right, so okay. And here's what we need to complete this. So do you have any questions by looking at this? So this is one section of the required items. Do you have any questions by looking at this? Right. So as you can see, the application you should have in mind, and your LLC or the incorporation you should have in your hand. So this would take, typically, if you're a very fresh beginner for starting the business, then you can use these companies like zenbusiness.com or legalzoom.com. So these guys are who does these LLCs or incorporations, and also they get you the EIN, and EIN and the LLC or incorporation you can get from those providers. So you have to pay for them, but you're free to find anyone who's affordable to you. Even some people do it on their own. So if you're able to do that, you can do as well. And if not, you can choose someone to do that for you and get yourself the LLC and EIN. So this would get you in around one week's time. And the other thing is that always be mindful about the ownership and the control in interest. So let's say if you're a single member LLC, that's perfectly fine. But if you're going to go with partnership or multi owners, always make sure your LLC or the incorporation has those information you provide when you register your business. Because when you get your articles of organization, all the owners should be listed there. And let's say if it's a 50-50 business, then both the owners should be listed. And those information, what appears on your LLC, should be entered in the application. So we have control in interest should be submitted, and how many owners should be submitted, and it should match with your LLC, the document, and all the information we submit. That's what always keep in mind, the consistency, and make sure every information you submit in multi-state or multiple places should be the same in all of the cases, right? And the government issued photo ID, this could be your driver's license or your SSN, but the driver's license is highly recommended for this purpose. And your resume of what you have been working previously. But for this program, you don't have anything to be eligible for. Like you don't need to have a mandatory training or else like any qualifications. You don't need to be RN. You don't have anything specific to become a non-medical home care provider and to get the license. But you have to go through the background checks and the fingerprinting. All the owners, let's say whoever you list in the application, everybody should undergo the fingerprinting and background check. You can't skip anyone. Everybody has to go through, and those confirmations should be submitted along with the rest of the documentation. Okay. All righty. Okay. So, and also there are a few other the documents like the background check policy and the description or the list of non-medical services that you're planning to provide, and the description of the geographic service area. Because when you submit the license, you can do multi-counties or multi-areas in the same state, and you should be getting the approval from the first time on what areas that you're planning to provide. And that has to be informed to the state from the first time when you try to provide the services. But later also you can request them and expand into multi-areas. But always we are supposed to submit the geographic service areas first. And also a surety bond of 20,000 if the business was not operating prior to September 2021. You have to show a surety bond, and this is probably needed to buy attorney or sorry, notary signed, and the surety bond should be provided as part of the requirements. So yeah, so the background check, you have the background check, fingerprinting, and you should schedule an appointment and use the code ODH. This is your recent code. When you're going to go with the background check, they would ask you what's your code. I mean, for what you're going to do the background check, then you have to use the code ODH. That's what would get you the correct background check processing for you required for this license. So this is the link, and this is where you have to go and get yourself done. So these numbers you can use to call them and ask any questions that you have regarding the background check, and this is a state website. All right, so let's go back to the document creation. So guys, you know that there are requirements for the supporting documents like your policy procedures, the job description, service descriptions, and all these documents also part of the process. So that you need to know, if you have to do this on your own, you need to know how to write these policies and how it has to be in compliant to the regulation, and so that you would get the approval. Right. So always keep in mind that how you're going to prepare these documents. So that's what we will be guiding today when we are trying to take you through the process. So, all right. So once everything is ready, let's say that the legal documents are ready, the supporting documents are ready, and the application is ready, and then you can go ahead and submit, whether it's a manual submission or whether it's the online submission. So the submission, but for the, I think the fees has to be paid via a check or a money order. You can see that on the documents. They would specify the instructions for you. They would let you know how the fees should be submitted and how it has to be, where it has to be, the check or the money order should be sent to. So in every case, you would see all the instructions from the state, but you have to be careful on to make sure everything is completed accordingly as per the regulatory requirements. So, and also make sure that you properly organize everything and make sure you create a bind if you're going to do, no, not a bind, if you have to organize everything, if you have to do this manually. But as I mentioned, the electronic version is much faster and easier because the system itself organizes everything for you. You don't have to do much about it. You just have to fill in the information and submit the document, but you have to make sure whatever the ticks where the opt-in in the application, because the application is very lengthy. So every tick that you make should be correctly placed in order to get the correct license application for you. So you have to be careful. Don't ever plan to get stuck between the state office reviewing, because that would cost you months and years. Always be careful on you all submitting the correct application and the correct level of services and everything you have to keep in mind. All right, so as I mentioned, it's a 250 is the application fee, and this is probably non-refundable because this is like to process your application. This is the fee that they would ask you or charge you. But this is a very fair price that I can tell you with my experience. There are states that charge, generally the application fee falls between around 1,000 to 1,500, or else some states like North Carolina, I think 500. Virginia, it's 1,500. I think Texas around 2,700, if I'm not mistaken. And California, it's 5,600. So that's the craziest amount I have seen in any other states. But the states like Pennsylvania, they would charge you around $100. And Maryland RSA, they don't charge you at all. They would charge when you're fully approved. So, and Florida is very low fees, I think around $50 or something for a home and companionship, or even for an unskilled, they have very low fees. So yeah, I think if I remember right, the numbers and the amount that I mentioned should be correct. But by the time you watch these videos, that could change. And those regulatory changes always comes into effect. So always keep in mind to watch the latest regulations and the state information, or else reach out to Care Pulse and we will guide you with the latest information for you. All right. So the expected timeline, this is not something the state would promise you, but we are trying to tell you with our experience, this would typically take average, we are trying to put you on average situation around 2 to 3 months time would be the ideal time to get your all the paperwork ready and get yourself approved. So because most of the providers that we have handled, we have got the license in average about 2 months time, but we are trying to put you on a worst case scenario around 2 to 3 months time. But the reason for delays could be because of incomplete information and not in compliant. And if you are missing something, or if there are inconsistencies between your application information, like the address issues, the business name issue, some people get confused with the DBAs, you can do that. And that would cost you unnecessary delays to applications. That's why there has to be someone who should properly review everything before you can submit everything to the state. Okay. All right. So this is very important for you guys. So by the way, do you have any questions so far? Anything related to what we discussed so far? All right. So there are common mistakes, and that we see in most of the case. The first thing is the policies and procedures. The policies and procedures are getting flagged by the state reviewer, and they identify as deficiencies or revisions and ask you to redo, because they always compare with the code whether your policy procedures are in full compliant with the administrative code applicable for your program or for this non-medical home health agency. So you have to make sure that everything is up to date and everything is fully completed, and the policy procedure should have all the forms, everything when you submit to the state. And as I mentioned, most of the people get a little confused over the business address. Some people use their mailing address, office space, and home address. It's a mixed. So don't do that. Always keep your business address, or if you're using the home office address, keep that consistently in every document. Your background check and your LLC, your EIN, and whatever the documentation you submit, make sure everything is same in all across the documentation you submit. Okay. And also you have to respond promptly to any additional information request. So this what I'm trying to tell you is that, let's say even though we submit 100%, everything is correct, everything has been pre-approved by another provider as well, all the documents are up to date, but still there are chances that they could still ask you to do the changes. Because why? The person, it's a people thing actually. Even though let's say it's Tanisha reviewed my application today and you approved it, but Kelly is looking into another application, the same set of documents I'm giving to Kelly, and the Kelly might request me additional documents or additional changes to the application or the policy procedure or whatever the documents we submit. So they would come back to you via an email. That's a mode of communication in most of the cases. In case if there are any deficiencies or any additions or any changes, and that's normal part of the business. But what you should keep in mind, the point that I'm bringing this story up, when the state comes back, let's say after you submit these documents and the application, everything is submitted, and this when the state comes back with any deficiency or revision at a later stage, you should be aware about those changes, which means that after the documentation package and the application is submitted, you have to keep an eye on your emails, the spam folder, promotional folders, whatever the folder. Always be careful to review and be up to date about all the emails or any correspondence, what the state would tell you, because they come back with deadlines. They would tell, hey, Kelly, please fix these policy procedures in 7 days, otherwise your application would be rejected. So imagine you see this after 7 days, and you never know that you got an email as such, and you automatically get into a rejection, because they will remove you from or withdraw your application from their systems if you're not responding for any deficiency with their required time frame. So you have to always be alert, be careful as to what they're trying to ask you. And if you're using a consultant, always you have to forward that to your consultant, and then we will be, able to handle all the changes, everything on time. Because timelines, you can't play around. You have no excuses, and they would give you no excuses at all. Always be on top of the game and make sure everything is in full compliance, and make sure you are submitting everything as per how they want you to submit. All right. Okay, so here are a few questions that I wanted to discuss. What happens after you have the license? So you can begin the operations, and you can start providing the services, especially for the private pay and the private insurance. So, and also you can continue to keep your agency compliant. So always you have to be up to date about the regulations, try to subscribe for their email newsletters from the state, and be up to date about any changes, if there's any policy change coming into effect. So you have to be able to update your manual and keep things ready, because you never know if they are going to come for an inspection survey. You have to be in full compliance. So you have to, as a business and as operation, you always, this is a regulated business. So if it's a non-regulated home care, you don't need to worry about these things. But this is a regulated program, so you have to be careful to be within the legal framework. All right. So for real life example, we'll try to take you through, if you want to use our services, how exactly we will take you through the process and what we will be doing for you, and how responsible we are to get you through this entire process completed and get you this guaranteed license approvals, as long as your backgrounds are clean. And as long as you provide all the correct and complete information, I don't see any reason to get your license rejected. So the first thing what we will be doing is that, let's say if one of you want to work with us on the licensing consultation, we do the research from today. We can rely on our past clients' information or their documents or anything. You have to do the research for today's regulatory requirements. So if there's been any change of any information, then we have to be careful on what documentations that we'll be working towards. So, and also gather all the relevant documents, including the official application form and the checklist. So this is also something that we will be doing that for you. So I think I can show you that. Let me close this. Sheet. So this is how a checklist should look like, what we prepare for our customers. Some information you don't see that on publicly, because of our experience. We have put together some information, and we will be highlighting what are the things that is needed from your end under the client's name: your driver's license, LLC, the fees, surety bond, and then whatever the documentation, like the policy procedures, mandatory areas, we'll be highlighting and preparing everything for you. So all these policy manuals, the documentation, we will be doing that for you. So that's the level of the initial checklist, and this is a very transparent document for you and for us. So you know what you need to be doing, which will be marked under your name, and we know what we will be doing from our end. That will be marked under care policy. So basically, what comes under your responsibility would be the legal stuff, because we don't have control over your background check or your LLC, EIN. So we recommend you to get those ready for us. But if you have any questions on getting those, we will be, of course, available to you on getting these things ready. So, all right. And then there's a Google Drive. We operate a private Google Drive for all our customers. This is very important to make sure that this is very important to have all these kind of a private folder with your number, and also making sure that all these documentations that you need, that this is how you need to prepare everything. So I'll just let you glance the sponsor manual. So this is how your policy should be developed. So if you see, this is over 100 pages, but the page number is not a problem, guys. Just always keep in mind, because some providers are telling, my friend is also running a business and she's having a policy manual of over 500 pages or 600 pages. That's never applicable, and that's never correct. So always you should have everything as per the codes, the administrative codes, and making sure the manual is in compliance and in the same order as per the regulations. So, all right. So this is how, and there will be additional forms, and all the code should be referenced wherever it is necessary. And this has to be applicable to your agency name, to your program, and to the state. And also, this is how your policy manual basically should look like. There has to be, this is the ISO standard. There has to be a document control pages, and the revision pages, everything should be provided in your manual. So this is how the code would be referenced in your policy procedures, and make sure that everything, whenever the state reviewer look at your policies, they would see, all right, okay, you have covered this code and I don't want to review anything else, because they are very confident if they see this level of policy reference in an indexing, which gives them an assurance that you're very well aware about what you need to do. So that's a quick, pass for you in order to get the rest of the things approved. So likewise, there are several other documentations as you would see here. So all these documentations, we have to prepare the employee training, the policies, the job descriptions, and the geographical areas, and all whatever the documentation is needed as part of the licensing, we have to submit to the state. So we will be doing everything for you as part of our services. So we'll be creating all the documents and customizing to your agency details, everything. Finally, we have 3 review processes, as I mentioned to you before. The first review happens from the document specialist who will be initially writing the policy manual in comparison to the state regulation. And the second review has to happen from your end, because you'll be given another opportunity to make sure to review your details, whatever the name, the address, the phone numbers, the email address. Very critical, guys. The email address. We had an incident with one of our client. That was a very recent incident. The client mistakenly provided an email that is not active, or like there's some kind of a company email, something was issue, and they had used that email for the state correspondence. So the state has been keeping a lot of emails trying to loop the customer, but she never received any correspondence from the state. And then finally, when you try to look into the issue by talking to the state, then we got to know that she's not receiving the emails. So always keep in mind to use active emails, whatever you're working, and you're not required to have a company email, like let's say Tanisha at homecare.com. You don't need to have such. You can simply use your Gmail, Hotmail, or whatever the email, and that's not going to affect you for the licensing, even though you run a business. But those things are recommended later on as you run a business to have official website, official logos, and everything. And also, what I would recommend, every document you create, you should have a professional logo placed in every document before you submit to the state licensure, because that credibility, it's really needed to see that you're properly organized and to get you the approval, because they're also trying to see how concerned you're and how prepared you're in getting this started. So don't just submit just bunch of documents and generate, and when you get rejected again, to reapply and get through the process would be a nightmare for you. So from the first time itself, be careful on what you submit and how you're going to submit this. Okay. So the application submission, as I mentioned, has to happen electronically here. If you're not going to go ahead with the manual typical route, you can use the electronic version for the submission. And the ongoing compliance, we will be making sure that, let's say, 21 business days is what we take for any of our provider to complete all your paperwork and customize everything and to be state specific. And in this 21 business days, you will be working with us very closely in getting your whatever the legal documents and background check required. And that timeline is perfectly enough for you to ready from your side. So while we do all the paperwork and you will be doing the legal stuff, and you give the legal documents, we do the paperwork, and then we do the application for you. So this entire total process, we take 21 business days complete, with the including the review, 3 review sessions. And on the 22nd day, we will be ready in it for the submission. Also, I just wanted to give you this heads up. We are not, unlike other consultants, we are not going to do things hidden. I mean, we don't do anything uh, hiding and trying to apply on our own and get you the license, so that you don't know the process on do it or what's happening. You don't have a transparency. We don't do that kind of work. Even the application, electronic, the application, if it is that, then we will be creating that account under one of your private email. And then we will be requesting your the credential to log in, and then we will be working on behalf of you. But you're the real owner. You have the access to this account on your control, because you can rely on getting this details to a contractor or a consultant, and that's a very risky thing because you have to depend on them. So I'm telling you, you don't need to depend on any consultants. uh, you have to have the control from your end. So that's why I always use your email. That's what we do. We use your email, but we get your access requested, and then we get all the information completed for you and ready everything for you. And end of the day, before the submission happens, we let you go through the account also just to verify everything, because you have the account access, and then the submission happens. So that's the level of support we provide until you are fully approved. And even during this submission, if the state comes back with any revisions, we will be with you until whatever the so-called months, whether it's a 3 months or 6 months. Our services will be provided to you until you get the license certificate in hand, and that's how we'll be providing the service. So I think we had this certificate. I just wanted to show you. Let me see. Oh yeah, so this is how the certificate comes. It's not a certificate, it's a letter comes for you. And this is how it should look like. It comes with the Department of Health, ODH, and you should have the headline as a non-medical home health services and your agency name and the validity. So this is how your letter you should receive from the state of your license approval. And this is a sample of a real certificate. Okay. So, all right. So this is what I wanted to show you. And regarding the Medicaid, I think what I would recommend for you, you have to, as soon as you are licensed, you have to get yourself into the Medicaid provider enrollment. And as the next step, what you can think about is the ODA, is what I would recommend, because there are multiple areas you need to consider. From the customer eligibility, there are ways to think, but you can start with the ODA as the initial waiver to get the Medicaid provider approval. But we are also planning to do a detailed session. Currently, I don't have detailed information to share with you about the Medicaid, but we are planning to do another session with all the information and the portal access and everything. So during that session, we are planning to get you, but you should keep in mind, as soon as the license is approved, work towards the Medicaid ODA and then get yourself started, because you can't rely on the private pay or private insurance. You always have to focus on the Medicaid payer or as additional source of revenue. All right. So that's how about the Medicaid. I think we are almost the Medicare. Okay, I think I explained about the Medicaid and Medicare. This is something I wanted to share as well. So you would see Medicare is for the skill services, but Medicaid is typically for the non-medical, and as the individuals, low income, seniors, with people with disabilities, how are eligible for Medicaid, and you can be a provider to provide these services. And as you see here, if you enroll in Medicaid, only non-medical services, you can provide the Medicaid services. Yeah, basically, which means that you can cover the Medicaid for your clients. So because nobody wants to pay out of their private pocket, if you are an approved provider for Medicaid, then they would love to come to your business, because they can pay you through Medicaid and you can claim from the government. So that's how it works. So that as a as a family member with a senior, let's say my parents wants and parents are old and they are looking for a non-medical home care agency, so my priority would be to choose a provider who is approved for Medicaid or Medicare, because that would not pay out of my own pocket, but the government would pay on behalf of me. So that's the mindset or the idea for those who do not know about the difference between the Medicare and the Medicaid and its benefits. Oh yeah, this is a certificate. And this is what we discussed. And these are the packages. So what we wanted to share with you, and I believe we have the most reasonable pricing out there in the market, and we have the most competitive. We see some consultants, but it's not relevant. The prices are very pricey, like 2 to 3 times the prices of ours, but we are providing not just a consultancy, but a dedicated service and until you're fully approved. So that's the level of commitment we provide in getting you approved, because it becomes our responsibility once you sign up with our services. And to get everything completed from our side, the cost 2990. So this is the current pricing, but I'm not sure by the time you watch this video, the prices could be a little varied. But the current pricing are 2990 for a person who wants to go ahead with the non-medical home care agency, or else for people who want to go ahead with any other programs. Mostly this is going to be our standard pricing for all the licensing types. So we provide the application, the recam analysis, regulatory support, documentation assistance, application submission support, ongoing compliance, everything except the legal documents, like the background check, the property information, EIN, LLC. So those are few things that you will be having to provide. Rest of everything we manage for you. So this is the full package 2990. And the other package that we have is the non-medical, the DIY package. This is like a do-it-yourself. So let's say if you want to do the application on your own, and but you need only the paperwork from us. So you can choose this 990 package, and these document packages are readily available on our website to buy as a direct downloadable item. So I can show you on Care Policy website. So we do have something called DIY licensure packages, and for many states we have whichever the state that you're looking for. So you can choose to go ahead and simply download, and as soon as you make the payment, you can simply go ahead, you can download all the files that is needed. You just need to insert your agency name and submit for the state. But inside this package, we don't provide any consultation, but it's you have to do the application and the rest of the thing from your end. But you get all the policies, all the documentations and everything for you. So, but if you are looking at the full consultation, which I would highly recommend, this covers end-to-end consulting, everything we handle. Even you get the revisions or whichever the correspondence, we will be there to guide you. So that's what this is very popular for us to get this program. So this is what we call it as the 2990 package. And if someone is interested, we will send the link to this chat, and you can directly go to our services and go to licensing consultation. And if you want the DIY package, simply go to downloadable templates and go to DIY license package. This is where the 990 packages comes. But if you need only the policies and procedures, you always have the option to filter out your state and choose the state that you want to have the policy procedures and go ahead and purchase whatever you need. And we have very, very reasonable pricing for everything what you need. All right. So, okay, guys, and the next steps. Let's say if you want the support services, especially for the branding and the website, is what I would highly recommend. You need to have your branding established. You need to have look for the traditional ways of marketing as well. So it's a combination of both. You have to have your logo, the brochures ready, start your digital marketing, start creating your Facebook pages, join those Facebook pages where the families are looking for caregivers in around surrounding area of your county or your state, and be alert for those who are looking, and always share your marketing materials with them. Whoever is interested will reach out to you. And also you can do the Facebook boosting, Instagram, digital marketing, everything. So if you need this support, we are here for you, because we have a powerhouse of separate IT department and branding, the graphic designers, everybody is working at Care Policy to take you through this entire journey. So that's something you have to think about in getting this completed. All right. So, and also there is another thing called the what do you call this kind of traditional ways of marketing. This traditional ways of marketing is you have to have a very clear understanding, not just the digital or the social media marketing works for this industry, that still the traditional ways of marketing still works, because you need to build the network with the hospitals, the churches, social workers, because they are the ones who will also bring you the word of mouth customers. So that's something you have to focus on building the community around you, so that you can consider them as leads and then convert them into your sales. So that's how you build the private pay and the private insurance clients, in addition to Medicaid and Medicare. All right. So, okay, we are highest rated consultants out there all across the state as well as all across the country. So you would see our Trustpilot or any reviews you can see on social media or everywhere and publicly. You can see all of our information, how satisfied our customers are, the level of services, the level of efforts that we provide, and the commitment to what we are doing. So you guys are going to do a community support. So we are also part of it. So it always falls on our responsibility to get you going Even though you're discouraged halfway you start, we'll be pushing you through, following up with you until this is completed. We can't let you just stay unfinished. So that's the support and the push and the motivation that we will keep you going. So, alrighty. Okay. So this is pretty much all about our customers, what they have to say about the services and the quality of the support that we provide. All right, I have a few questions as well to cover. So I'll try to make these things very clear to you. So what's the difference between the home health agency and home care? So this is home health means medical and skilled. Home non-medical means like the personal support, meal preparation, and companionship services. And you can provide nursing or medical services under a non-medical home care agency. How do I open a branch office or a second location? So after your main license is issued, a separate branch application you can submit to the ODH or the Ohio Department of Health. And for each additional location, you have to get the approval separately before you can start operation. So always keep in mind the ODH should be informed at every point if you're doing to do any change or new services or anything that you're unsure about. Always make sure to clarify that with the state before you do that. And can I start with the home office? Yes, you can. Of course, you can start with the home office, but later you are not required to stick to your home office. If you feel that you don't like to do business at your home office, you can wait. My personal recommendation, wait until you get your license at your home office, because the license also take few months. Because now itself, if you try to go with a commercial space, you have to keep paying rentals for around 2 to 3 months for nothing. So just use your home office for license approvals, and later when you properly establish the business, move to a physical space, separate commercial space, and do it like properly. And so that is also would help you at a later stage to for the inspection service. But the good news about uh, this is very critical, and I think I didn't cover this earlier. You don't need to go through an inspection survey to get the license. The license will be issued to you first. So the license that I showed you will be issued to you first before an inspection survey. So that's a good process in Ohio, unlike the other states, because most of the other state would go for inspection survey and then get you the complete license. But here they issue you the license, but later they would come for the inspection service. And yep, if you're operating from a different state, you still need to have a physical space in the state of Ohio, and you can use your different state LLC as a principal office and use the Ohio as a foreign state. So that is also something you can do in order to get started. But still, the easiest way is that you can simply use a new LLC in this new state where you're trying to do the business instead of doing the foreign state, unless you want to keep this parent legal structure and as a subsidiary if you want to run. If not, you can simply go ahead and have a new LLC or an incorporation in this new state where you want to do business. You don't need to have any experience in the healthcare to start home services or whatever we call the non-medical services. So there is no experience as such is expected from you. You don't need to hire staff as well. There's no requirement. The staff hiring before the license is issued. You don't need a RN. Again, registered nurse is not required because you're providing only non-medical. But for medical services, yes, you do need a registered nurse. Okay. And inspection survey conducted, no. As I explained to you previously, you don't need to go with the on-site inspection to get your license, but later when you're going to go with the Medicaid provider enrollments, and then you would be asked for an inspection survey. Okay, and on-site inspection conducted, okay, the same thing. The Ohio Department of Health may conduct unannounced compliance inspection after the license is issued to verify ongoing compliance. So you can't just do business thinking they would never come to you. You always have to keep in mind that they would come to you. So just make sure that everything should be in full compliance. So this funds, guys, I have put as a generic figure. You actually don't need an amount. Then the regulation don't specify an amount to as a fixed amount to show as proof of funds. That's not part of the requirement. But if you have some kind of funds, that's generally good. That is for the license, you don't need an amount, but you need a surety bond of $20,000. Only that is the only requirement that you will be having to provide. But generally, you of course need some funds and capital for a business. But for a non-medical home care, you can start with a very minimum cost, unlike a group home or a facility type business. So you can keep that in mind. Background check needed. Yes, of course. Everybody, whoever you list in the application must go through the background check. You can skip the background check. So everybody has to go through the background check. So, yep, you can operate multi-counties and licensed non-medical home health agency in Ohio can serve clients in more than one county. When you apply for the license, you must include the description of the geographic area you will serve. So always remember to include the area when you submit the license application. And is there a provisional license before initial license? No. The license will be directly they don't have a provisional or conditional license unlike the other states. They give you the full annual license valid for 3 years. This is the great thing, guys. Trust me, this is really good. Not every state gives you 3 years at a stretch. I mean, like the first license even before the inspection. So this is really a good thing. And for those who are trying to do a home care agency, you can definitely go ahead with the process. You don't have any blockers. And how long will the state take to announce an inspection after the initial application submission? And as I mentioned, there is no inspection conducted before the license is issued. That there can be unannounced inspection would come for you as ongoing compliance. So it can be announced or unannounced. So you just have to be ready with your paperwork, your policy procedures printed, and just run it as a professional business when you professionally start. So you should have your client onboarded forms and employee hiring forms and everything formally printed and kept in files whenever they come to your office to do the inspection. So that's why I said you can start with the home office and get yourself approved later. You can decide to go for a commercial space if your home office is not good enough, but it's up to you to decide. But again, there's no restriction as such. You can do business at home office. There's nothing as such, but it's up to you to have it ready for the licensure inspections to make sure that you pass the inspection in case if they come to your place. All right, any questions and any questions? Yep. You have any questions for me? All right, guys, I think we covered pretty much everything today, and I need to thank you, everyone. And before I let you go, so whenever you have any question, here is our email. Always feel free to reach my name, Anton. When you try to send an emails, I'll be the one to respond. And here's our website. You can find all the information inside our website. Not just the licensing, but also we provide the additional services like branding, the business plans, website development, marketing services, everything. And I'm sure you can beat the prices what we offer. This is the prices that you have to pay in total to get your website completed. And I can show you some sample websites we have done as well. Not just licensing. we pretty much cover everything for you. So we are making sure that you get the best out of best, and at very reasonable pricing, because we know that you guys are starting up with everything. So your capital is limited. That's why we are trying to get you through very affordable pricing. So this is how our website looks like, and everything is modern, high speed performing, and SEO friendly. So everything will be fully customized to your requirements. Oh yeah, this is Ohio websites. That's good. I opened this. That this is one of our customer who worked with us on getting the license ready. So it will be fully custom, and we use the copyrighted images, and we try to make sure your website look diverse and to ensure diversity. And we look into a lot of aspects, because we have the IT consultants and the marketing consultants, and making sure that you get phone calls, leads to your business. Family should be calling you. So that's the end of the, the day. That should be your plan. All right. And I will also try to show you the branding, logo, the brochure designs. These are the packages that you get everything. The business card designs, letterhead designs, envelope design, email signatures, brochures, logo, everything. Marketing flyers, social media flyers, everything you get for these packages. So, and I have a real request for all of you who are watching this today. Before I let you go, I would really love to hear your feedback about our services. You can find us on Trustpilot. Please type carepolicy.us and leave us a video feedback and the Trustpilot review, and you will be rewarded with a complete employee handbook for your home care agency. And this is going to be $199 worth employee handbook, completely free, as a complimentary gift for those who are really satisfied. You can leave your honest feedback about our services, and if you're satisfied, and we will also, as a gratitude, a token of appreciation, we will send you away an employee handbook fully completed and ready to use. So these links we will add to the video, the YouTube description, so that you can go ahead and place the reviews for us, and we would love to be in contact with you. So this is me. Uh, could be a little different what you see in the photo and in reality. Anyways, I'd love to be in to connect with you guys on LinkedIn. So this is my LinkedIn profile. Find me as Anton Fonseca, and I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn, and drop me a message if you have watched any of my webinar sessions. And thank you so much, guys. And thank you very much on joining this session. And I hope you enjoyed. And yep, good luck to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.